Hey everybody, happy Wednesday. We are back with the third segment of Parable of the Sower, which I think is the most traumatic segment.
Yes.
Yes.
The most traumatic thing.
This is the most traumatic thing. Usually this is the most traumatic thing all semester, because usually Oryx and Crake is a little bit of a like, haha, when would there ever be a worldwide plague? So usually this is the really rough book, but I feel like we've gone back to back. But the last section is it gets less horrific. Yeah. Okay.
You made it.
You made it. And then on Friday we'll be done with this book, which is great.
You're doing great.
You're doing great. Okay, so I want to do a couple of announcements first before we do summary and Habruta. So, first announcement is a reminder, do not buy Memory of Water. We are not going to read Memory of Water. We are going to read some happier stuff. I am working on finding that happier stuff, and should have that up on Blackboard by Friday. You won't need to buy anything new. Just gonna be free stuff online. Okay. Thing two, don't forget to list your participants in your summary of your discussions so that I know who is there. And then the last major announcement is that if you need to have one more week extension on your midterm, go for it. Take that extension. I know that they closed the dorms. They're closing the dorms this week, and that's more chaos for everybody on top of all the chaos we already had. So you don't even need to email me. Just don't turn in your midterm. Turn it in a week from now. And that will be totally okay. So, take that week, and if you already turned in your midterm and you feel like you could have done a better job if you had more time, then just shoot me an email and I will delete your first attempt and you can take another week like everybody else. Okay. So, that's it for announcements. I am ready for a 30-second recap. So is this baby.
Yes.
You ready, baby? You ready for 30-second recap?
Will Hugo be doing the recap?
He will not be doing the recap. This is a little bit above his age level, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you got a timer?
No.
Here we go. Okay. Warming up. Getting ready. You ready, Hugo?
Hold on. Get in the right headspace. Okay, on your mark. Get set.
The wall is breached, everything's on fire, the people covered in paint are murdering and raping everybody. Lauren gets out, she can't find her family, but she does find Zara and Harry, and they start heading north, they buy a bunch of supplies. They're on the highway, they're walking north somewhere. She eventually shares with them that she has the hyper empathy, and she starts talking about Earthseed. They get together, and she's a little pissed because they do it during Night Watch. They start picking up new followers, usually by saving them, and they buy a lot more guns. Bengali arrives, and I think that Lauren might have a thing for Bengali, and then there's an earthquake. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Didn't need to read the book.
Didn't even need to read it.
It was really brought to life right there.
Yeah, right there. Okay, so shall we start with? Shall we move on to Habruta?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Do you want to start with your question?
Yeah.
My question.
I'll start with my question.
Okay.
So here's my question. I kind of think of this section, so I've kind of blanked out the fire killing raping part because that was not working for me. But on their journey, it's kind of like disciple time. Like she's really like picking up her disciples. I had a sort of like gathering her flock sort of feel to it. And I was thinking about why it is she's so effective at recruiting people to her religion, because she's not really trying at this point. Like she's a little bit cagey about it. But she also seems to have 100% success rate. So I was wondering and thinking about like why she is effective and what is she doing that makes her so effective at recruiting people. And there were a few things. So one is that with Travis, she's just talking through and like saying and being pretty honest about it, like her perceptions of things, but just talking and sharing like her ideas and what she's thinking and all that. And that seems to really work for him and works for Zara because she's listening as well. But then the others I wasn't really sure. Like, you could say she kind of performed miracles by saving them, but like you don't have to go like believe somebody's very specific religion just because they saved you. And she doesn't expect that from them. So I was wondering what is compelling about her.
I mean, I think the fact that she's not pushy really helps. Like when I think it's Allie says like, "Is this a cult? I don't want to be part of this," and she's like, "Okay, don't be part of my religion.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you'll have our backs when we need it." And then she kind of like, it's like an osmosis thing. She's just like, "I'm just gonna quietly read my poetry out loud."
Yeah.
You guys, if you like it, that's fine. But she's not pushing it on anybody.
Yeah.
When she does I was surprised she broke out the space mission thing so early.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that Travis was like, "What's this for? What's this for? Why?"
Mm.
And so she finally like had to tell him. But
Well, she was a little bit concerned about why she'd done that as well. Like she wasn't super on board on that decision to share that.
Yeah.
Because she knew that was kind of the wacky bit.
Right. Yeah. It's the one that starts to get a little heavy.
Yeah. Like, let's all do this and then go to space.
Yeah.
We have no shoes.
But in general, I do think that it's the lack of pushiness, and it's the sort of she chooses the verses wisely. She's like, I'm gonna have this quiet, soft, gentle verse for you now. Yeah. She's not sort of breaking out the hard ones yet, so she's luring them in, and she's doing it gently. Okay, we're gonna pause for a second.
Pause this.
Pause for just a second. Be right back.
And we're back. I only had one more point to add, which is that I also wondered how much her charisma that she might have also like kind of built upon her dad would be important, because the dad was also a leader and people weren't like always believing but were willing to follow. And I wondered if that was also true for her, is that maybe people are not Travis and Zara, right? Because they're like all in on message, but if people are following her because of just like she seems like a good leader, she seems like she's got it together, she has good tips, like. She's very good at predicting, like, we shouldn't go there. There will be fire. Yeah. And then, like, oh, look, there's fire and death and all that stuff.
Yeah, her survivalism is really wrapped up with Earthseed. So to the extent that she seems to be a competent survivalist, then that like seems to be a somewhat rare
skill. Yeah, exactly.
Particularly for someone who's prior to this was all theoretical. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like Zara brings, like, the street smarts, but she's like, I know about how we can get water at the beach. And they're like, okay. She's like, I read it.
She's like, it might kill us. I'm like, all right. Like, no, it's fine. I know it's fine because I tasted it.
Like, put something in there. That's people pee at this beach.
Yeah.
So charisma, survival skills. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she brings that.
Yeah. All right, your turn.
Okay, my question is a little bit convoluted, but it has to do with the focus on literacy and illiteracy. So a little bit of background that I wanted to give that you probably know. But so Octavia Butler used to do her writing at the Los Angeles Public Library. She would like go there every day. She'd be like, this is what we're doing. And Los Angeles Public Library burned down, had two big fires starting in 1986. And it was reopened in 1993, which is the same year that this book came out. And she helped with the cleanup effort. She helped with like the sort of rebuilding stuff. And prior to that, and after that, she was a literacy tutor for adults. So I think that Octavia Butler is somebody who's like really focused on like literacy, like more than your average writer. It saw the importance of literacy. And also I wonder if sort of the fire themes came up because like this was something that was really salient in her life right at that moment. But her sort of, if we say that she wrote this in, say it came out in 93, so say she wrote early 90s, and then she's projecting 30 years on, to me, the sort of idea that there's to be this really widespread adult illiteracy 30 years later makes me question the timeline of all of this and wonder if actually she was changing stuff before the 90s. Yeah. You know, like it's not like she's saying, okay, here we're starting here and here's an alternate future, but then she was also going back and saying like, here's a little bit of alternate history as well. Because to me, it doesn't seem realistic that, like, sure, the kids, you know, if the education system breaks down, that the kids wouldn't have any literacy, but there's so many illiterate adults.
Yeah. It's not in keeping with the actual experience of the 90s.
Yeah. So I just was wondering what you thought about that, I guess, and how that affects your view of the timeline.
I also went back and forth on that because it seems like for a lot of this, you actually need to jump out one more generation to the future. Like, I kind of wish everything was set in 2050, like one more generation. But at the same time, she does a lot to kind of, like, she has a lot of, like, touch points from the 60s that are aligned with our version of reality, right? And her older gentleman friend, he was born in, like, 1970, and he describes the 90s as, like,
crazy but
rich, which I guess is kind of where she was thinking the 90s were going. We're crazy and rich, and, like, wasn't totally wrong.
I guess she's writing this, like, Clinton's being elected for the first time.
But that wouldn't be, like, and the people who were kind of children at that point in time were not getting education at all. Like that. So I think you're right. Something has to be different for that to happen. But I couldn't tell if it was that was actually what she intended, or she just was like, kind of hand waving there. But she's so precise in other stuff. I assume that she was actually changing, like, wanted it to be that people weren't getting educated.
Or things go bad really, really fast in the early 90s. Like, that's the other option.
Yeah.
Or maybe these drugs like mess with people's literacy or something, or at least like their ability to teach. It's a big literacy comes up in all of her, not all of her stories, but a lot of her work.
Yeah.
Literacy is like this big thing, and having adults be literate or illiterate, like plots hinge on that a lot of times.
Well, and it also seems important because it ties to really strong themes of slavery as well, right? Because there's like the debt slavery when they're thinking of Olivar, and there's also just like a lot of people working as housekeepers for just room and board.
And she talks about people sneaking their education.
And then like tying that back to the American experience of slavery. And so it seems like that's also another reason why literacy is really important.
It also makes me wonder more about, we've talked about her dad's sort of class background. The fact that he was teaching at a college means that there's like a college that you can bike to from, what's the name of her neighbor? Robledo?
Yeah.
Which is somewhere in like south of Los Angeles. So I'm thinking like Cal State Fullerton kind of thing. So there's enough people who not only can read but advance on to like higher education for there to be colleges supported. And it makes me wonder if those are like really, really, really rich kids. Like what chunk of the sort of socioeconomic spectrum have we chosen to be college bound in this world?
Yeah.
And it makes me think that it's a very elite set.
I mean, the other possibility is that it's not that elite. It's just really segregated as well, right? Because again, it's not the case necessarily that this has to be the experience of the entire United States. Like, there's definitely a sense of, like, Washington and Oregon might actually still have something like widespread literacy. They've just shut all their borders, right? So...
And they do meet some middle-class people on the beach in Santa Barbara who seem to just be, like, out for a beach day.
Yeah, like, just...
So I don't know, like...
So I kind of imagine that there's, like, concentrated poverty as well in a way that isn't necessarily the case that, like, in that community, maybe 60% of adults can't read, but not necessarily in the whole society. It's just that, I mean, for example, Lauren's only interacted with 11 families her entire life.
That's true.
So, you know, you can imagine.
But Keith was apparently, he says, working to help people read and write, and she meets, like, everybody she meets on the road can't read.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the rates seem too high for the current timeline up until 93 too.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of questions about what's going on in the rest of America and in the rest of the world,
which
I know a lot of people's groups discussed last time.
Yeah.
So that was my question: literacy as it affects our understanding of the timeline. And so that's it for today. You're going to read the last section, and we will be back on Friday with our last parable of the sower, and then we will leave it behind and move on to other things. So everybody be well, and we'll see you on Friday.